Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Sci-Fi Sunday on this channel. We've got a little sci-fi superhero news to talk to you today about, and that is Deadpool 3. There has been a synopsis reveal for Deadpool 3. That sounds really intriguing, so we have to talk about it. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so Marvel Japan has just released a synopsis for Deadpool 3 that could change everything. Or at least that's what people are afraid of. And some are a little bit excited about it as well. And that synopsis says that, that the irresponsible hero Deadpool will change the history of the MCU with Wolverine. So this actually implies a couple things. This implies that in the 616 universe, everything will change thanks to Deadpool and Wolverine. And this is not entirely untrue. However, it doesn't quite mean what people think it means. And that's kind of what you have to realize. People are looking at this and they're wondering how exactly this is going to impact the movie and the rest of the MCU. That's where things get telling, because over at the MCU, Kevin Feige and that team, they don't want to change everything and confuse the fans. And a lot of people are afraid that's what they're going to do. A lot of people are afraid that they're going to rewrite the MCU history and have a complete and utter reboot. And that is not true at all. That's not what we're talking about here. What we are talking about is something completely different. So they're not going to go back and change history in the MCU itself. They're going to go back and change the history of the 616 so that everything that happened before happens again. And it's actually quite that simple. We've actually known for a long time sort of what the plot is of this movie, that he was killing the Fox Cinematic Universe essentially. However, this does excite a lot of fans on another level, because this is actually very telling in what they've said before. Remember that they said that the events of Deadpool 3 would ultimately lead into Secret Wars. That's always been something that you've heard. And this kind of thing sort of helps to make that seem like it's possible. It sort of helps to make it seem like that is the likely situation here. And the other thing to remember about this is that by them introducing these characters and putting them in a possible Secret Wars scenario with a lot of people maybe talking about events. They can talk about events, but it doesn't make that movie not have happened. In fact, I don't think we're ever going to hear them talk about events that happen in other movies. However, all the characters that now exist in the 616 will exist there permanently. They will have always existed there, and everything going forward would take place in the same dimension. There would be no more multiverse. Everything would take place where it's supposed to take place. And that's kind of important, because now you're looking at a situation where you don't have to explain why this is happening in this side of the multiverse and this is happening in this side. And there's all this stuff that would normally connect. And that's kind of where they are right now with a few things. With the Fox Cinematic Universe and all the things they own, they have this situation where they have to think about where it belongs. And when you have that type of thing going on and you have to think about where it belongs, that can be hard on writers and everything else. So if they know they could just squeeze this person in and say they were always there, that's also an advantage. However, this would also serve another purpose. This serves the purpose of bringing in some older characters that we absolutely love. Another chance to see Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire. Another chance to see some of the X-Men from the movies that we absolutely enjoyed before. See them come back and play their part over again in some sort of battle. Because Secret Wars was essentially that. And they never really got any big finish films going on. There was never any crossovers. There was never anything like that. And at one point, there was supposed to be a crossover between the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. This was supposed to happen, and it never actually happened. And the reason it never actually happened is they figured that they could be more successful doing just the straight solo X-Men film than they would actually have a chance at being if they were to go the crossover route. They were actually very wrong about that. I think fans would have ate up the idea of a crossover between the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. And we know crossovers work now because look at all of the big Avenger movies that have crossed over all these superheroes to work together under the guise that they are the Avengers. It has worked very well for them to cross over into each other's movies and help each other out. That has worked great for them. And this allows for them to do that type of thing. And there was another one that got released, another synopsis that said something similar. And it just said that Deadpool would change the Marvel Cinematic Universe forever. And didn't say he would change it with Wolverine. But it's this with Wolverine that's getting people excited. And it should, because going forward, that is exactly what they're trying to do. They want to make sure that this movie is the crossover that everybody wants. No, all those films would now be canon. All of the Netflix TV shows would now be canon to the 616. The events happen that way or very similar to that way. So then it also makes sure that by doing this, and this is what people are afraid of. People are afraid that this means that they're going to change events that have already happened in the MCU. And that's not entirely true. Because they're not going to change events that have happened in the MCU. What they're actually going to do is change events you haven't seen. So things that you haven't seen are going to be incorporated now within the 616. So the X-Men movies would be able to fit into the 616 universe just basically how they happened. That's what I take out of this. That's what I sort of feel they're doing here. And by the MCU actually taking time to have Fantastic Four written again, because that's another thing. They are having Fantastic Four written again, even though it's scheduled to start filming relatively soon. And with Fantastic Four doing this, it only tells us that they're looking at quality instead of looking at how quickly they can get this movie out. And that's kind of a good thing, if you ask me. I want every story to actually fit and every story to be good. And then everything else becomes secondary. This Deadpool movie excites me because it does sort of present this possibility to change a lot of things and to get to see some of the people we previously didn't get to see in other films. Get to see people that we loved their movies, get to see them come back and participate with people that we love from the current MCU. Like, how cool would it be to see Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield? How cool would it be to even see Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider? And this is what this is telling us. It's not meant to be some synopsis that's supposed to be worrisome. It's actually meant to be a synopsis that is kind of telling you, hey, we got you and we know what you want and we're going to try to bring back some of the people that you want to see, and maybe even on a permanent basis. We don't know yet if there's any of them are coming back on a permanent basis, and if so, how? Because there are a lot of variants in the multiverse, and they can look like anyone, and sometimes the variants all look like one person. So it is quite possible that if some of the actors wish to reprise their role and be part of the MCU permanently, and Marvel is down, that could be exactly what we see. That is why the Deadpool 3 trailer coming up at Super Bowl is going to be a lot of fun. But I want to know what you guys think. As always, we want to know what you guys think. Make sure you leave that comment in the comment box below. Make sure you share this video with all of your friends. Make sure you are hitting that like button. It helps the channel. We appreciate it. Miko says we need more subscribers. You don't want to disappoint Miko. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell while you're down there so you don't miss a single video we do. Friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.